Hello, William Yaxley, and welcome to another week. It's great to be with you again in another week of school. And very soon, everybody will be coming back to school, and it'll be great to know that you are all there and all schooling together. And I'm sure you are really looking forward to seeing your friends. Well, we've been talking about, last week we talked about doing Bishop Stephen's Lent Challenge. And Bishop Stephen's Lent Challenge is this year looking at the subject of hope. And last year we thought about Noah and the rainbow. And I showed you the rainbow picture that has been outside of my window, inside my window even, for quite a few months now. And the words in it say, "We may not know when, but good times are coming." And we're thinking about hope. We're thinking about, what does hope mean to us? How can we have hope today? And how can we help others to have hope as well in what is a very difficult time currently, and has been a difficult time for the last year, really? So we're thinking about hope. So today we're thinking about how hope can make a difference. And I wonder, what kind of things give you hope? What would make you hopeful at the moment? I am filming this on a beautiful sunny day. And I love it when the sun shines. I think people are so much happier and have so much hope than when it's a dark and miserable and dreary day. I think people also like snow because people have fun when it's snowing. So that brings some hope to some people that they're going to have some snow and some fun time out in the snow. I wonder what else brings you hope at the moment. Well, I've got friends that write me lovely cards that they send me with just little messages. It don't have to be long messages, just a little message saying, "I'm thinking of you," or "remembering this, you remember this." So maybe you've got friends that do that perhaps write you little notes and things. But I love getting cards in the post from friends and from family because they've taken that time, and it just gives me hope and reminds me of the friends and the family that I have. I've got a little stone here. I don't know how well I can see it. I'm going to do my best. And it says, "I'll be there for you," and there's a picture of an owl on it. And so I've got little things around my study where I am at the moment which give me hope, which remind me of hope when things are difficult and for having a tough day. But I can look at all the lovely things that people have given me. And I've got some words on my wall, some kind of inspirational things to kind of inspire me and give me hope. So I've got things like, "You are capable of doing amazing things," and I'm having a really tough day. I can remember that actually I am capable of doing a lot of things. There are a lot of things I can't do, but I can do a lot of things. Hope is a really important emotion. We see hope in a lot of our Bible stories. Maybe people have lost hope, and then God comes on the scene and does something amazing, and they have hope again. And our Old Testament is a very long story about hope, really, as the Israelites, as God's people, go through this really tough time, this time of the wilderness, being in slavery, having to get into the promised land, lots of different things happening. But they are hopeful. And they are hopeful for something very different. They're hopeful for the Messiah, for Jesus coming into the world, which we know he did at Christmas time. And we're heading towards Easter now, and we're thinking about how that gives us hope as well. And so my other thing of hope, another thing that gives me hope each and every day, is knowing God and loving God, and knowing that Jesus died on the cross because he loves us so much. And so knowing God gives me hope each and every day, even when things are difficult. I know that I can rely on God and that I trust him, and that Jesus did the ultimate act on the cross when he died for me because he loved me. But we also know that on that Easter day, Jesus came back to life, and so we have hope and life and light through the life of Jesus. And we've been thinking about that in terms of Candlemas a few weeks ago, how we light candles to remind us of Jesus being the light of the world. We thought about that before Christmas as well when we had our Christingle. So there are lots of signs of hope around. If I go for a walk around Yaxley at the moment, which I try to do fairly frequently, there are lots of signs of hope there as well. There are signs of hope in new flowers. Are you seeing the new flowers coming up? I love spring when the daffodils come up and the crocuses open, and you can see the things that people have planted maybe last year, perhaps in the winter time when maybe there didn't feel like a lot of hope of them coming and flowering. But there is always hope in the things that we see around us. So hope can make such a difference in our lives and how we see life and how easy or hard it is. I want to tell you a story, and it's probably a story that you know very well. But it's a story that I know as the Good Samaritan. It's also known as the story of the kind stranger. And it's a parable. Can we remember what parables are? Parables are stories that Jesus told to make a point, to tell him something probably about him, tell those that were listening that Jesus was talking to and teaching. He was trying to help them to understand who he was, who God is, and what they should be doing with their lives. And so this is the parable of the Good Samaritan. And there was somebody who was going on a long journey. They were travelling between Jerusalem and Jericho, and they knew that that road was quite dangerous. And in the middle of walking down that road trying to get to the next place, some robbers, some thieves came along, and they pushed the person to the ground. They took all the bags that he had off him, and they ran away, leaving him with nothing. And he was also injured. He had cuts and he had bruises, and he was feeling quite poorly. Now, it was quite a busy road, so he wasn't left alone for very long. But the first person who came across down the road was a priest. Now, a priest in those days is someone who worked in the temple. We've talked about how temples and churches are different and similar. But the priest was someone who worked in the temple, a little bit like me. As well as being a vicar, I'm also called a priest. Now, you would think the priest would do something, wouldn't you, in this circumstance? You'd think the priest might actually do something, but actually the priest didn't. The priest carried on, went past this person, and left them on the road, being poorly and unwell and without anything. So that story doesn't give you much hope. So what happened next? Well, then someone who worked in the temple came by next. You'd think again, someone who worked in the temple would do the right thing. They would go and help out that person, wouldn't you? But no, the person who worked in the temple walked right on by equally. Okay, this is still not a very hopeful story, is it? But then a third person came by, and the third person was a Samaritan. Now, the person who'd been injured was a Jew. The person who came by next was a Samaritan. Samaritans and Jews did not get on. They wouldn't even drink from the same place. They wouldn't be in the same area. They just didn't get on. They have very different views on things. And so we would think, well, hold on a minute, that Samaritan's not going to stop, are they? They're going to keep going. But the Samaritan stopped. He was on a donkey. He got off his donkey. He took his bag and the things that he had in his bag, and he put plasters and bound any wounds that they were, putting bandages on and covering up anything that was painful or uncomfortable. He got the man who had been attacked onto his horse, and then he took his horse and this man into the nearest village. And when he got there, he didn't just dump him. He went to the nearest, what would have been like a hotel in those days. And he said, please look after this man. Do whatever he needs. Here is some money up front. And when I come back, I will give you more money for his care. Isn't that an amazing story about how the most unlikely person is the person that was the one that helped the person in need? I wonder who you can think of today who has helped you. Perhaps in these past few weeks or months they've been so difficult. What's helped you? What's given you hope? Perhaps your parents have been able to give you extra time helping you with schoolwork. Perhaps you've been coming into school and your teachers have been going above and beyond to help you out. When you're maybe at home and at school, sometimes it's difficult to know. Perhaps you've kept in touch with friends in some way, and that's been really good, just it's given you hope to be able to do that. If we think about coronavirus in this last year, it's been such a strange year, and it's been a very difficult year to have hope in, because we've never quite known what's going to happen next. We've not known when we're going to be out of lockdown. We've not known when you're going to be at school and not going to be at school. There have been lots of things that we've not known, so it's been difficult to have hope. But I wonder today, what gives you hope? I've spoken to some people going to school, and they have said they are so much looking forward to going back to school, and that is giving them some hope of seeing their friends, being back in the classroom, having a normal day, and then going home and relaxing at home when you get home. So for some people, the thought of coming back to school is giving them great hope. We can think about how for coronavirus we have the vaccinations now. That so many people, I think as I recall, there are probably about 18 million people have had vaccinations. That's an amazing number. And so we can think of the hope that we have through scientists, through those people who've been working on a vaccine against this virus for so long. And maybe today that can bring us hope that there is some light in all of this, that we know it's not always going to be like this, and we might always have to live with coronavirus. We know that there are going to be better days. Like my sign says, we may not know when, but good times are coming. Perhaps it's a thought that you might be able to do something with friends or family this year that you weren't able to do last year. Perhaps your family are planning a holiday, or perhaps they're thinking we're not going to go away next year. And I can this year even, I can understand absolutely both ways of thinking. But maybe there will be more things to look forward to, some things that give us hope. But what we know as Christians, we know that we have hope because of Jesus' life and death. And so as we think about that story, we think about the person who did the right thing and helped out that person. There are lots of people who are helping you today. And I wonder if you can just think about them for a moment. Just think about maybe what can we do to give hope to somebody today? Perhaps you could write a card and send that to somebody. Lots of people are rock painting and moving those out for other people, and some of you will have found that on Explorers. Maybe that's a way to bring hope to people, because people love finding those rocks. I've seen someone hiding little knitted birds around Yaxley. People putting pictures in their windows. People are doing art galleries in their windows at the moment. I love seeing those as I walk around. What I love about human beings is we have such a capacity to hope, that even when things seem really difficult, we can still hope for better times, for better things coming. And we can know that God is always the same. He doesn't ever change, and so we can always hope and trust in God. So let's think in this coming week about what we can do as people who could give others hope. Perhaps we can speak to somebody on the phone. Perhaps again we could write a card. That's a little present we can give somebody. Perhaps we can put something in our window. What we have to remember through everything is we have to keep ourselves safe as well. So we don't, while we're giving other people hope, we have to do it safely for us. So we can't go and hug somebody, we can't do that at the moment, but hopefully we can do in the not too distant future. We can't go and do something that will put us at danger. Don't ever do that. We can't just wander off without a grown-up. You need to know, let your grown-ups need to know what's going on. So whatever you think you might be able to do, think about, is it safe for you to do, and is it safe for the other person to do as well? So I wonder how you are feeling today. Are you feeling hopeful? Are you feeling sad? Is life a little bit different and difficult for you? Well, hopefully today's assembly has brought you some hope as we think about the hope that we have in so many stories in the Bible. But that one gives me hope about how somebody who wouldn't be the person to help normally was the person to be in there and helping that person in need. So let's take a couple of moments quiet and maybe think about how we're feeling today. Maybe think about how we can bring hope to each other, and maybe think about how we can have hope within ourselves. So let's pray. Loving God, we thank you that we have hope, that you give us hope because of who you are and because of who Jesus is and what he did. Help us today to be people who are hopeful, however we are feeling, and help us to think how we can give a little bit of hope to somebody else, perhaps through writing a card or a letter, perhaps through a smile, perhaps through something that we can do just because of who we are. Help us to remember that we have to keep safe at all times and keep others safe. But thank you for the hope that we have in you. And today may we have hope whether we are at home or at school, because we know that you are with us. Amen. Well, it's been so lovely to be with you for another week. I look forward to being back with you next week, and we'll be thinking about a different area of hope. I'm just going to read the prayer that Bishop Stephen has given us just before I go. And it says, heal the world of its sorrows, dry the world's river of tears, calm the world's problems and troubles, and end the world's worries and fears. So one of the other things we can do is to ask God to give us hope. When there are difficult circumstances, we go to God and we ask him and we tell him about them, and we know that he listens to us and hears us. So as you go about your day today, maybe you want to ask God for something. Maybe you want to be that sign of hope for somebody else. Or maybe you're going to go home and put something in your window. But take care of yourselves, stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you next week. God bless. Bye.